I was told that there are better quarterbacks in college football besides Carson Beck. I'm here to tell you there's not one single quarterback in all of college football better than Carson Beck. Next, Locked On Bulldogs.
You are Locked On Bulldogs, your daily podcast on the Georgia Bulldogs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? He is Clint. I am Daniel. Welcome back to the Locked On Bulldogs podcast. Excited to have you here. Thanks for being here. Thanks for making us your first listen. Thanks for being an everydayer. We're happy to have you all along for the ride. Today's episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy, and so we're excited about them. Go to 5hourenergy.com, and we'll tell you more about them momentarily. But Clint, we're on a bit of a different schedule this week, to be clear. Tennessee Tech week, there's not a multitude of thoughts to be shared from the game. You listen to Kirby's presser, he doesn't really want to talk about it. There's not a lot you can learn from it. Georgia begins conference play this week. Tomorrow, we will be moved on to Kentucky on Tuesday's episode. We'll be doing Kentucky preview. We'll be looking at their offense versus our defense, and our offense versus their defense. And
Sorry,
we're going to be bringing up an old friend.
Another interception right now.
An old friend's going to be joining the show. Yikes. That's tomorrow. And then we got more Kentucky previews on Wednesday. Official predictions on Thursday. Excited, nervous, don't sleep on Friday. We'll be back to overreact again on Saturday. Happy to have you guys all along for the ride. But today, I want to kind of do an upon further review, big picture wise. So that's what we're going to do. But we got to start here, Clint, because let me get this out of the way first and foremost. You, Clint, and I like to think a good portion of our listeners, the everydayers. You understand what I'm trying to say? The 199, the everydayers. These people are college football fans. Do you know what that means? It means we love our team. It means we cheer for our team. It means when our players go to the NFL, we're excited for them. We love to see that. We root for them, maybe. That's fine. That's all well and good. But we don't get caught. What we want, Clint, is for our team to win football games and championships.
That's all I care about.
We don't really care about who the best quarterback in all of college football is. You understand, Colorado's national championship is having the best quarterback in all of college football. That's the only thing they will compete for this year, because they sure as heck ain't going to win many games in the Big 12. And they just got taken to the woodshed by Dylan Raiola and the Nebraska Cornhuskers. So,
yikes.
Colorado fans, though, are catching a lot of receipts this week because
and rightfully so.
They did get taken to the woodshed in the game, but also Shedeur Sanders looked bad in this game. Now, he didn't have an offensive line. He's running for his life a good portion of this game. But he also throws a horrendous pick six deep in his own end zone. He doesn't look good. Meanwhile, Carson Beck just keeps coming out and doing what he does each week, week in and week out. There's not a doubt in any sane person's mind that Carson Beck is A, the best quarterback in all of college football, and B, is going to be the number one pick in the NFL draft when it happens. I am becoming increasingly convinced of this, Clint.
Well, yeah.
Who's going to take his spot?
No other quarterback. I mean, the closest that you can come, the closest, y'all. And you're not going to like this, SEC fans. It's Cam Ward at Miami. That's the closest that there is. But everything, it's not particularly close outside of that. Ewers, sorry, doesn't have it. Carson Beck has everything that you want in a quarterback. Yeah. Literally everything you want. Composure, leadership, mentality, toughness, team player. Oh, that's just to name everything that doesn't have to do with throwing the football to receivers and getting them open and scoring points. He has it, guys. Like, there's nothing that you lack in this kid's game. He's going to be the number one pick. I just don't understand how intelligent people who are paid to cover college football can see things side by side.
Sure.
And they will choose Shedeur Sanders against far lesser competition. I mean, you said Nebraska, guys. Nebraska hasn't been good in a hot minute. Okay.
Yeah.
Years and years.
Call your dad and ask him who Nebraska is. He'll know.
He'll know. That was because dad was 30 years younger than he is now. Okay.
Yeah.
They don't have the players. They don't have everything. You could say it's on the road, but Dylan Raiola outshined him. Not because he went against Colorado's defense, but guys, stop it with this narrative. Shedeur Sanders should be celebrated as a success for what he has done at Colorado. And he should be pumped up as the first go get in the draft. Let him be that. Let Carson Beck carry the torch because he can carry it far better. And there's no flaw in his game, Daniel. That's what I'm realizing. The more I watch Carson Beck, the more I realize there's no flaw in his game.
None whatsoever. And Shedeur Sanders is a really talented quarterback. That's the thing, is like he gets caught up in a lot of this. And honestly, in many ways, he brings it on himself. In many ways, I feel bad for him. He's a talented quarterback, but he's not Carson Beck. There's no way I'd want him on my team ahead of Carson Beck. Georgia got the best quarterback in all of college football. You can keep them all. Like, you can keep every other one of them. I'll take this guy. Let me say this, Clint.
Yeah.
Georgia, again, I know, not till tomorrow. Georgia definitely got the best quarterback in this game coming up on Saturday.
Oh, my gosh. Hey,
I'm sorry. I'm not going to be able to say it enough.
Hey,
I'm not going to be able to
Twitter.
say it enough.
Hey, Twitter people that came at us saying, if Kirby doesn't play Brock Vandagriff, it's going to be a problem. He's the next. He has the intent. Stop. South Carolina came into Kroger Field and made him look like a peewee player.
It's a tough scene. It's a tough scene. We're going to talk about it. I actually have some thoughts on that issue. We are going to transition now and talk about teams now that maybe we weren't thinking about as a threat to Georgia at the beginning of the season on the schedule that now maybe could pose a threat to Georgia, and the opposite. All of that and more coming up right after this.
But this is, in fact, 5 Hour Energy. 5 Hour Energy is fantastic. Daniel and I love them because we need to stay alert much as our lives. If it's Saturday for the Overreaction show, if it's going to be a late Saturday night coming up here, because guess what?
Yeah.
We got that late kick. We got that night kick
over at Kroger. You guys have been waiting for the late kick.
Well, here it is. We're going to need a 5 Hour Energy as he and I both use it, and both will continue to use it as we stay alert for that Overreaction show. What about before working out? That is also a great time to use a 5 Hour Energy. We use that as well. 5 Hour Energy is the brand hardworking people like yourselves are trusted for over 20 years to give them alert, energized feeling they need to get through a busy day. You always know where to find a 5 Hour Energy shots right at the cash register at nearly every convenience, drug, and grocery store nationwide. Stock up on money-saving multi-packs and make sure you never run out of delicious, energizing 5 Hour Energy shots. If you go to 5hourenergy.com, that's the number 5hourenergy.com, and get some 5 Hour Energy product today, you can use my promo code LOCKEDONCFB to receive 20% off your order. This is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders. Go to 5hourenergy.com today.
All right, Clint, let's start with schools that no one was really we weren't very concerned about going into the season. That now at this point in the season, maybe it's not a full-scale panic. Maybe we're not predicting a loss. But you look at this team and you think, okay, well, they might be something.
Yeah.
Let me start with some schools that it's not.
Okay, this is the list that we can just right off the bat.
It ain't Georgia Tech. Brent Key, that was cute. It was cute that you went to Ireland and you beat Florida State.
How bad is Florida State?
– – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – –hhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhh But then what had happened was
Uh-huh.
Fran Brown came out and shoved you in a locker. You understand? And then he went on the post-game presser
Tell
and
the
he
people what he
talked
said.
about it. And he
Tell
talked.
people what he said.
He said, and I took that personally. And he said, you knew I coached with Kirby Smart and Will Muschamp, and you had the nerve to say my team wasn't going to be physical? When you knew that I coached with Kirby Smart and Will Muschamp, and you thought you were going to out-physical us, push us around?
Guys, the
Brown
quotes for recruiting.
Where's my man Petey? Where is he?
Petey.
Where's my man?
You're welcome. You are welcome.
You love to see it. You do love to see it.
It's not Georgia Tech.
We're not concerned about Georgia Tech.
It's not Kentucky this week, I'll tell you that much. Hey, guess what? My annual love for Stoops and my appreciation, tip of the cap to say, good on you, ain't coming this year. Stoops, you cooked. You done cooked, son.
Yeah, it ain't Kentucky. Kroger Field it is not a problem. No. I mean, the obvious one to me, and people were concerned about it. You know, I've been talking about it, but it's not one of the big road games. People always want to talk about these road games. They always, they want to talk about Texas. They want to talk about Alabama. They want to talk about Ole Miss. These three big road games on Georgia's schedule.
Tell the people what they should be concerned about, Daniel.
You ought to be looking at Sanford Stadium against the Tennessee Volunteers, because I've gotten roasted on this show in the comments 3 different times, Clint, saying the same thing. Guess what? I'm about to say it again.
Let's repeat it.
Tennessee's defensive front is better than you think it is. Nay, not just better than you think it is. It's better than any other defensive front Georgia will play this season.
Yep.
Period.
Full stop.
They also have a quarterback and an offense that is humming. Clint, have you considered the fact that every year Josh Heupel doesn't have Joe Milton as his starting quarterback, the offense is really dang good at Tennessee? Just to be clear, that's a pretty decent mark, because there aren't many quarterbacks as bad as Joe Milton. And so as long as you got somebody better than Joe Milton, you're going to be just fine. The offense is good. The defense is good. I know it's a long season, but people are talking about this Kirby Smart. Josh Heupel can't score 20 against Kirby Smart. I guarantee you somebody's typing that in the comments right now. I guarantee you somebody's typing that in the comments right now.
We're going to need Carson Beck in that game a great deal, y'all.
I'm not saying I'm guaranteeing Tennessee's going to score more than 20 against Georgia. I'm just saying, if you're guaranteeing they're not, you're ridiculous. Based off of what, Joe Milton last year and a Hendon Hooker team? Like, if you're guaranteeing that Georgia's going to hold them under 20, I'd love to hear that in the comments. Please come in here in the comments and guarantee me that Georgia's going to hold this Tennessee team under 20 points.
I won't be doing that.
You should be concerned about the Tennessee Volunteers. Is there anybody else on your list, Clint, other than that?
I mean, I heard the comments. I didn't hear it. I read in the comments of our own YouTube channel, for the love of all that is good. Somebody saying, if we had Joe Milton on our team, we would have the perfect team. I'm sorry, Milroe. If we had Milroe, if we had Milroe, we'd be the perfect team. Please never comment again. But love you, mean it. But let's think through some things for a hot minute. Okay. Let's think through the fact that Milroe is not, he doesn't terrify me. He doesn't bring me huge thoughts and fears and grandeur at all. Milroe does not do that. And you saw they have very talented wide receivers. That's true. 17-year-old kid that is out of this world. I get that as well at Williams. But the defense doesn't scare me. Alabama doesn't do it for me. Okay. We'll talk about that in the third segment a little bit more. But it has to be Tennessee, Daniel. There's no other team on this schedule. When we did our season preview, I called for a loss against Tennessee at home because they're quite good and they are going to be riding very high. I don't see them losing before they get. Tennessee might screw around and have one loss on this entire season, Daniel. Like,
yeah,
which is quite remarkable.
Tennessee's going to beat Alabama, yo. I could be totally wrong about that, but I think Tennessee's going to beat Alabama. I think win or lose to Georgia, I think Tennessee's got a great shot to make the college football playoff.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I think they got a great shot. They beat Alabama, Daniel. They lose to us. You don't think we're going to see them in the SEC championship game? Possibly. There's a possibility that's the case.
Yeah. I mean, and even if we don't see them in the SEC championship game, they still might, we know Notre Dame's not going to any playoff anytime soon. And so the SEC is going to have all the spots they need. Like, they're going to have all the spots they want. And so Notre Dame. Notre Dame. All right. We're going to come back third segment, and we're going to talk about teams that we are not as concerned about as we may have been previously, or maybe as you are. But first, these.
And these are, in fact, Ibotta. Fantastic for you right now because you're taking a dream vacation this summer but dreading the cost. With Ibotta, you get cash back on all your purchases so you can spend more time making memories this summer and less time dreaming about them. Ibotta is a free app that lets you earn cash back every time you shop. Earn on hundreds of items from groceries, beauty supplies, even toys, so you can make the most out of beating inflation. No matter what you're purchasing as time, you joined the over 50 million users who use Ibotta to earn cash back every time they shop. Right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 just for trying Ibotta by using the code LOCKEDONCollege when you register. Just go to the App Store, Google Play Store, download the free Ibotta app to start earning cash back and use code LOCKEDONCollege. That's Ibotta in the Google Play or App Store and use promo code LOCKEDONCollege. Teams that don't terrify us. Tennessee is dangerous. Quarterback can do some things, front seven. And in college football, it's kind of like when you're talking about March Madness. You want a point guard that can go ahead and distribute the ball, defense, and a head coach that's been there before. College football, you got a front seven that could shut you down, and a quarterback.
Clint's out here talking about college basketball. Was that Clint with a college basketball reference in the third segment? Is Clint out here talking about Mike White and this Georgia basketball team out here in the third segment?
Guys, let me tell you a secret. We're making the tournament this year.
We're making the tournament this year.
We're
going to make the NCAA tournament this year. Buckle up.
Yeah. Okay. Tennessee does terrify us. Teams that don't terrify us. I said this at the beginning. Alabama doesn't terrify me in the sense of what they were. They do, because if the thing that I saw, Daniel, I don't know if you saw this. Milroe, quite exceptional. That dude, we've said, made of granite. He is as tough as nails, hardest person to tackle, I think, in the SEC. Just straight up.
Sure.
Really, really difficult to tackle. I think I saw something for the first time in Alabama in quite a long time. And it wasn't the penalties. I don't care about that. Whatever.
They're going to get that cleaned up by September 28th.
They're going to get it cleaned up, y'all. It wasn't the lack of passing, because actually that exploded in the fourth quarter. They had those deep balls, piece of cake. When they were pressed and there was fight, teammates turning on teammates, yelling, hooping, and hollering, and not just encouraging, get after it, not just, hey, I want to challenge you, but rather, I'm blaming you. You're the problem right now. It was startling to me. You don't see that from an Alabama team, but I saw it on Saturday, Daniel, for the first time.
You don't see that from a who coached Alabama team.
Yeah. So when the temperature gets turned up quite a bit, the leadership rises to the surface. Kalen DeBoer, look, Nick Saban had that team, like it or not, he had that team exactly where he wanted it. That team's not exactly where Kalen DeBoer wants it right now. And it's going to be hard with all. That's why you saw a mass exodus of people, and only his guys came back in from Washington, from the Pac. He
had the best offensive line in college football last year. That's what I was told, Marler. And now all those guys came over to Alabama, so the offensive line, those issues are fixed. No problems on the offensive line. I'm pretty sure what Alabama fans feel about this team. Listen, I am still very concerned about Alabama. I predicted a loss to Alabama. I still predict a loss to Alabama. I have seen it before.
Yeah.
fool me once, fool me twice, fool me. Like I'm not falling for this again. Alabama looks like crap, and then they play Georgia. Alabama looks like crap against Auburn, and then they play Georgia. Like, stop, Georgia fans. Stop. They're going to clean those issues up. They're going to figure it out. They're going to freaking run Jalen Milroe, which they could have done this entire game and won the game easily.
That's what's so startling to me. Like,
if
what in the
Kalen
world?
DeBoer weren't so stubborn and tried to force the ball down the field when clearly it was not there, when all you had to do was take your 230-pound athletic quarterback and run him for 11 yards of carry all the way down the field.
They couldn't have stopped him.
No, but instead you dropped back and couldn't block anybody up front and just let a jailbreak come at him every single play. So I've seen him before. I'm not looking at that. Clint, Texas is getting a lot of flowers right now. Clint, everybody's lining up to give Texas flowers right now, and they deserve it. They deserve it.
Okay, sure.
Let me ask you this, Clint. Who wins on a neutral field, Clemson or Michigan?
Oh, Clemson by a landslide.
I'm just trying to ask a question.
Game. 21 points is the margin on that game.
Michigan is a deeply flawed football team.
Zero offense whatsoever.
No. Now, Texas got a lightweight schedule. I still think they're going to make the playoff. I still think they're going to make the playoff easily. I predict they'll be in the SEC championship game.
There we go.
It seems like after this weekend, they're certainly going to beat the fool out of Oklahoma.
Oh my gosh!
Because Oklahoma.
Oh, dude.
Why couldn't we have gotten them instead of Texas? You kidding me? Like you want to talk about a deeply flawed team. I just think you match Texas up against Georgia, and I kind of like us everywhere. Like, everywhere. I literally can't think of one place. Yeah. Texas's offensive line is really good.
Sure.
Like, really good. And so if you were to just match up our defensive line against their offensive line, I think it's advantage Texas for sure. But do you really think Texas is going to be able to run the ball against Georgia?
No, I don't.
No, they're not.
So here's what it's predicated on. I said, here's what it's predicated on. I think I said this last week. You man up the receivers, and if you're to lock them down, that's all you got to do. If you lock down man coverage and you allow the star and the safety come in, and you take away Quinn Ewers' readability, which I'm not even saying we have to do because we have linebackers that can read and react and are fast enough. You play one high safety over the top of this. You play man coverage. You play whatever you want on the tail end. It doesn't matter what offensive line does the defensive line because you're optioning the end man on line of scrimmage or a linebacker. Quinn Ewers will get eaten up by
having
our
a great offensive
second
line
level
is
guys.
great. But if you're not going to be able to run the football, then your offensive line is there to pass protect. And if to your point, if you can bring more guys than they can block, it doesn't matter how good the offensive line is. It's a numbers game. It doesn't matter how good the offensive line is. And so I certainly like Georgia's receivers against Texas' secondary. I certainly like Georgia's quarterback against Texas's defense. I think Georgia is between a 10-2 and 11-1 team. And I'm to the point right now where I'm really starting to lean. This Texas game is definitely a losable game.
It is.
I'm not even chalking Ole Miss up to being a losable game anymore. Like I know that they look formidable. Whatever. I get that they look formidable.
What about a Thorne-led Auburn team, Daniel?
Okay. Peyton Thorne is really the best Hugh Freeze can do. You want to hear something funny, Clint?
Please.
Lenore Sellers went down with an injury. That's not funny. When we don't, he came back. He came back, so he's fine. Lenore Sellers is fine. Quarterback for South Carolina. If you don't know who, Glasses McGee.
Glasses McGee. Yeah,
Rex Specs. You know the guy. You know the one. He goes down with an injury.
Yeah.
South Carolina forced to bring in their backup quarterback. You know who that backup quarterback is?
Who is it?
Well, it's Robby Ashford.
Now, where was he before?
The guy that's better than Peyton Thorne.
Like
markedly better than Peyton Thorne.
Yeah.
But that Hugh Freeze let walk so that he could be the backup at South Carolina. It's not like this guy was fielding a bunch of guaranteed offers.
No.
In the portal, which means, Clint, Auburn could have kept him. If they ponied up just a little bit, they could have kept this guy. And then at least they would have an option, because God knows how bad the backup on that roster must be right now. If you're not putting him in after Peyton Thorne throws his third interception against the Cal Bears, Clint.
The Cal Bears at home. At home.
It's not what I'm going to call good if you're Auburn.
No. He is Daniel. I'm Clint. This is Locked On Bulldogs. Locked On podcast every single day. Thank you for being here. We'll appreciate you guys. Tomorrow, coming on back, making us our first lesson. We'll see you guys then.
See you.